Hello, it's Michelle. Welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I wanted to tell you what I plan on reading in May. This month I have 2 buddy reads. I have a book club read. I've got 2 book of the month selections to read. And then I have another whopper of a book that I'm going to talk to you about. Because of that, I'm not going to be doing the card game this month. Oh, okay, stop. Sorry, Marty's going nuts as usual. Oh, good. He laid down. Maybe he'll be calm. The first book I want to talk to you about is my Book of the Month Club selection. The Hacienda by Isabel Cañas? I'm not sure. I'm not good at pronouncing things. Mexican Gothic meets Rebecca in Cañas's stunning debut after Beatrice's mestizo father, General Hernandez, is betrayed and murdered in Mexico's War of Independence. Beatrice marries mysterious widower Don Rodolfo Soloranzo. As his estate, the Hacienda San Isidro, seems the perfect escape for Beatrice and her mother. Beatrice's first sign that something is off is the housekeeper, who refuses to work without burning copal incense and chalking glyphs on the kitchen door. Then Beatrice is plagued by bad dreams and mysterious, bloody visions. Her sister-in-law, Juana, who shares the estate, insists these are signs that Beatrice is going mad. Beatrice, however, comes to believe that her husband's first wife was murdered and is haunting the house. And she finds an ally in mestizo priest Padre Andre, who's torn between the folk beliefs of his childhood and his Catholic teachings. To exorcise the house, the pair digs into a past deliberately obscured by those who would kill them if the truth comes out. Cañas clearly knows the genre, alternately deploying the subverting haunted house tropes. The result is a brilliant contribution to the new wave of post-colonial Gothics. That just sounds pretty epic. I love a good horror novel. I love supernatural ghost kind of stuff. And I really like Gothic books. So you throw all 3 of them together, I'm pretty excited about that. If you hear a weird noise in the background, it's just Marty. He's down here singing and rolling around in the books. Now, I was born in May, and because it's my birthday month, Book of the Month said that I can get a free book. Oh, get out of there. And so I thought, okay, I want to pick a book that I've been wanting for a while as my birthday gift from Book of the Month. And so what I decided to pick out was Black Cake, which is, I'm pretty sure it's on my most anticipated books of the spring video. And so here's what it's about. We can't choose what we inherit, but can we choose who we become? In present-day California, Eleanor Bennett's death leaves behind a puzzling inheritance for her 2 children, Byron and Benny. A traditional Caribbean black cake made from a family recipe with a long history and a voice recording. In her message, Eleanor shares a tumultuous story about a headstrong young swimmer who escapes her island home under suspicion of murder. The heartbreaking tale Eleanor unfolds, the secrets she still holds back, and the mystery of a long-lost child. Challenge everything the siblings thought they knew about their lineage and themselves. Can Byron and Benny reclaim their once close relationship, piece together Eleanor's true history, and fulfill her final request to share the black cake when the time is right? Will their mother's revelations bring them back together or leave them feeling more lost than ever? This just sounds well, it says it's an evocative book. It does. It sounds evocative. It sounds very passionate and deep, and it just sounds wonderful. And one of my favorite things to read about is the sibling dynamic, the sibling relationship. I've got brothers, and it's just a fascinating thing to me. And so I think this would be a really good book. And I think the part of me that loves family history will really love reading about what their mother went through. But obviously, I'm looking forward to reading these books. I should probably stop saying that, because if I wasn't looking forward to reading them, why would I be reading them? My first buddy read is going to be with a friend of mine who is not a booktuber. He is a viewer of this channel, and we have been chatting back and forth a lot, but he's very private, so I don't really want to say his name or anything. If he's watching and he wants to say who he is, that's fine, but I really want to respect his privacy. We're going to be reading this book together, and it's The Secret of the Old Clock by Nancy Drew. Now, this is not the one that I'm going to be reading, which probably sounds kind of weird. Why wouldn't I read this one? I have a copy right here in my hand. But when my friend did some research on the Nancy Drew books, he discovered, and I'd never heard of this, he discovered that they were edited or rewritten, however you want to word it, to be made shorter and to make Nancy less independent and more agreeable with men. So basically, the way Nancy Drew was originally meant to be, per the author, was quite a bit more independent and as a girl who stood up to men, which I guess people at the publishing companies decided that was just too disrespectful to men and too independent. So they decided to tame her down, put her in her place and make her a less independent, more obedient girl, which makes me want to throw up. It turns out, and I don't remember what year it was, I want to say it was in the 50s that they started changing the books. The original books are, I think, if I remember correctly, the original books are 25 chapters long. I mean, all the books in the series. And then the revised versions are 20 chapters long. So when I found this out, I wanted to get a copy of the book that is what the author intended for us to read. Not this. I don't want to read something that was revised without the author's consent. I don't even think she was alive anymore when they decided to do this. But obviously she wanted Nancy Drew to be independent and to stand up to men for a reason. I have my new copy on the way. This is the one that I won't be reading. It's hard to find the original copies, but they can be found, and I found one on eBay, and it's on the way. It should be here in a few days. And this one that I have here, it doesn't have a synopsis on the back. I wanted to read it to you. Nancy, unaided, seeks to find a missing will. To the surprise of many, the Topham family will inherit wealthy Hosea Crawley's fortune, instead of deserving relatives and friends who were promised inheritances. Nancy determines that a clue to a second will might be found in an old clock Mr. Crowley had owned, and she seeks to find the timepiece. Her search not only tests her keen mind, but also leads her into a thrilling adventure. The next book I want to talk to you about is my other buddy read. I'm going to be reading this book with my friend Kristen at Enter the Book. It's 100 Years of Solitude by Gabriel García Márquez. And I don't know why, but I want to call this 1,000 Years of Solitude. But I can't accept that it's 100 years. It's 1,000 years in my mind. So I don't know what that means. 100 Years of Solitude tells the story of the rise and fall, birth and death of the mythical town of Macondo through the history of the Buendia family. Inventive, amusing, magnetic, sad, and alive with unforgettable men and women, brimming with truth, compassion, and a lyrical magic that strikes the soul, this novel is a masterpiece in the art of fiction. So, a masterpiece, huh? There's some pretty strong words right there, but I'm excited to finally read this book. This book was originally published in Argentina in 1967. And I did notice there is a family tree in the front. I'm sure that'll really come in handy when I read it. Hopefully it's not too hard to read. And then I'm going to be reading The Shining by Stephen King. This is part of the book club that I'm a member of. And you are more than welcome to join in and read this with us if you would like. I'll put the link to that book club video down in the description box. And I'm going to read a different synopsis of this because I already read the one on the back in a book haul pretty recently. And I just thought it'd be fun to kind of spice it up and read a different one. Jack Torrance, his wife Wendy, and their young son Danny move into the Overlook Hotel, where Jack has been hired as the winter caretaker. Cut off from civilization for months, Jack hopes to battle alcoholism and uncontrolled rage while writing a play. Evil forces residing in the Overlook, which has a long and violent history, covet young Danny for his precognitive powers and exploit Jack's weaknesses to try to claim the boy. As I just mentioned, I love a good ghost/haunting story. I just find it very fascinating. And then the last book that I want to talk to you about is Anna Karenina. I had said that I wanted to read this book in April, and I tried. I really did. But this is a book. Like, it's a lot to chew. It's a very long book, and I find it a little bit hard to get into. And I've heard that before from other people. So what I did was I decided to start listening to it as an audiobook and then start reading it also. Well, that didn't work out very well. I did not like the voice actress. She had this really weird whiny voice, and it was kind of like Mrs. Doubtfire, but really shrill, like, oh no! And everything that the voice actress said just sounded so, and I didn't like it. It was driving me nuts. So then I found another version and I started listening to that one, and it sounded quite a bit more interesting. But that one only had the first 4 or 5 chapters, I think it was, on SCRIBD. And I thought, you know what? Okay, I need to just redo this whole thing. I just need to figure out how I'm going to handle this. It is 800 pages long. And so far, it seems like there's a lot of characters, and it was hard for me to keep track of who is who and what was what. So what I decided is I'm going to print out a list of characters, not with any spoilers, but just a list of characters so that I can try to understand, okay, who is this? Okay, that's their sister or whatever, and go from there. I'm going to approach reading this like most people do the Bible, in the sense that because it is so big, I'm just going to read a little bit each day and approach it that way. Instead of trying to read it all at once, I usually always have an audiobook I'm listening to and a physical book that I'm reading. This is going to be a third book that I will be reading each day. I want to read maybe 20 or 40 pages a day and just kind of slowly get through it, let it marinate for me. And what I plan on doing is, while I'm reading this, I will record my thoughts on the book, and it will have spoilers in it. So if you haven't read it and you want to read it, you might want to hold off on watching those videos because I'm just going to talk about what's going on and what I think of it. But I think so many people already have read it or maybe have seen the movie and aren't interested in reading it. It shouldn't spoil it for them. Have you ever done that with a book, though? Just felt like it was so overwhelming and so big that you had to kind of not even decide not to read it or to read it later, but just to read a little bit over however long it takes instead of trying to read it all at once. I just find books like this to be less overwhelming that way. So that's everything that I plan on reading in May. Please let me know if you've read any of these or if you want to read any of these. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day or night. Happy reading. Bye.